Welcome to Tekedia Mini-MBA. I'm Ndubuisi Ekekwe. This is week 18. It's unbelievable that we are rounding up this remarkable journey we began many months ago. Today we'll be looking at profitable growth, marginal cost, and scaling. Of course, somebody may ask, why do we have to go to this level of detail? I have this understanding that our capacity to understand marginal cost is going to become one of the most important elements for that moment of execution. Because if the purpose of firms is to fix the frictions which exist in the marketplace, it means that the only way companies can grow is by understanding how efficiently they can fix those frictions. And how can we model, how can we understand how we can fix those frictions? It's actually understanding how we can serve an additional customer. Marginal cost is essentially the cost companies incur for serving an additional customer. I remember when I was in secondary school, I didn't do economics, but I took the external examination in my first year in the senior level. The teacher told us something about average fixed cost and marginal cost. How can you connect back to that experience, even though you may not have done economics in university? We all had that experience that if you can understand those curves they used to show in school, great moments can begin to happen. Because companies see those frictions in the marketplace, they now have to do something. They have to mobilize resources as part of the accumulated capabilities they have, because they want to see how they can fix those frictions by the utilization, by the organization, and by deployment of the factors of production which are available to them. And how can you deploy the factors of production efficiently? How can you bring innovation, setting a new basis of competition that you can create a leverageable moment in that marketplace? It's when you can find that sweet spot that your marginal cost can give you great positioning that you can scale. And I'll show you this plot here. It's essentially the plot of price and value. If you are giving higher value in your business, even when the marginal cost is dropping, you are going to become a very great company. Because there is nothing more exciting in the world of business, especially the consumer business spectrum in the digital space, when value is increasing and the marginal cost is dropping. Great companies like WhatsApp, Facebook, Google, these are companies that have figured out how they can generate or create more value for customers, even when the price of serving those customers are dropping. And that's the reason why most of these companies, you can actually buy or use their products or services at a ridiculously low price or even free, because the cost they deliver that product to you at an individual as a unit element is very, very low. So what is this marginal cost? What are the components of this marginal cost? We say that in our lecture material, I think it's about 17 pages or 16 pages there, where we explain all these elements at the higher level, that the marginal cost for an internet business is actually one of the greatest rewards when it gets to near zero. And it's a component of distribution costs and transaction costs. So your transaction costs could be like the cost you pay for a company carrying payments in your website. It could be like the cost you pay to Flutterwave or PayPal. That's your transaction cost. The distribution cost is now the cost of delivering after that customer has actually bought that item. If the distribution goes through the web, essentially means most times that is insignificant because the world is unbounded. So the guy has bought music on your website. Distributing it is largely free and easy. And if that distribution cost and transaction costs, giving you the marginal cost. If you can keep adding users and growing, and that cost flattens and keeps flattening, you will have a great moment in your company. So what is happening here, that as users ramp up, distribution cost, transaction cost, they remain low. As revenue ramps up, distribution cost, transaction cost, they remain low. Of course, you are going to have a fixed cost that is a little bit going up. That is expected because it's assumed you may need to have to build new data centers. You may need to pay more money on your AWS or Azure, Microsoft Azure or Google Cloud. There are some fixed costs, but the most important thing here is that the rate of the growth of that business is certainly going to be faster than the fixed cost that you are using to keep that business going. And then if the transaction cost and the distribution costs, they remain flattened, great moments will happen. And I'll take you back to this score which I experienced in the secondary school. It's called the average fixed cost, and also you have the marginal cost. And they didn't explain this one then, because there were no many digital platforms. But I recall vividly when the teacher in secondary school was trying to explain the average fixed cost. But from right now, I can see that the cost model of the marginal cost of industrial age companies, like say for instance Dangote Cement, it looks like that average fixed cost. So this is what is happening. If you open a mid-space company, a company that is now built on a digital platform, let's say for instance Dangote, let's say for instance Ibeto Cement, let's also look at General Electric supplying power plants. So these companies talk about economies of scale. Economies of scale is essentially saying that as companies begin to grow, they now have leverageable factors in terms of sharing their fixed costs and other things by so many products and services they are producing. So the cost of each unit of that particular product or service drops. Yeah, that is true to a certain level. Because what happens is that as you continue to grow a business, first thing first is that your marginal cost begins to drop. But after a time, you begin to have a U shape. The marginal cost begins to ramp up. That is essentially saying that there is a finite level you can reach as a company before scaling that business or opening more branches may not make sense. So, for example, Dangote Cement cannot be in every local government in Nigeria, even though it's serving practically every part of the country. And General Electric cannot be in every state in America, or production plant in every state in America or in any country, even though he wants to do business with every part of America and, of course, most parts of the world. So the reasoning why he cannot just keep opening branches, or maybe Access Bank cannot open branches in every local government in Nigeria, and the same thing happens to GT Bank or First City Monument Bank. The reason is that as they enjoy the economies of scale that come through improving, having more branches, after a time that begins to harm them. So this puts a finite limitation on how big a company could be. So this is what happens. You have grown so big, consultants will tell you, oh, you become so big, you need to close some branches because it doesn't make sense anymore having these branches, because what is happening here is that you are not getting more efficiency by having all these branches. So you now reduce the branches here, the number of branches. Then your marginal cost improves again. Then you keep increasing branches, and then it goes up. And then the consultants will ask you, come down. And then the consultants say, you need to add more branches. So this is really what the balancing is. How can you stay at that sweet spot where the marginal cost is just good enough, but it's not tipping you into the point you begin to have the shape of an average fixed cost? But there is a difference. In great digital companies like Google and Facebook, the marginal cost deviates, essentially saying that as they scale, they become unbounded in geography. They become unbounded in their capacity to attain absolute zero marginal cost. So this is getting to near zero. It's a continuum that as they begin to scale, they never had this kind of problem where industrial age companies have. It's not a U shape. It's not an average fixed cost. Rather, it is a continuum that tends towards zero. And that's the reason why they don't have any final point how far they can go, because the marginal cost, even when they are scaling, keeps going low. And that is what they call the network effect. And that is what they call the capacity for them to grow unbounded, making it possible that they can generate liberable value in the sense that the more users they have, the more better their products and services become. And because their products and services become better, the more people that are attracted, creating a positive continuum that makes them even better. And I have written extensively in Harvard Business Review that when a company gets into this loop, it becomes a living organism. That it's a living organism that does not have any element of in that metabolic process of anabolism and catabolism. So they are not going to degenerate unless really bad things happen. They are in process of building up. That's anabolic process of metabolism, becoming living species working in the digital domains. They create huge value. And when they do that, you see huge scalable advantage. A scalable advantage is a number that helps you ascertain a company's ability to grow. And what that means here is if a company's scalable advantage attains close to 1, that company can grow. And digital platforms are very good on that. But when a company has a very high marginal cost, when it's acquiring more customers, the scalable advantage tends towards zero. It cannot scale as rapidly. Of course, there are companies that stay middle. I think I have a video in the member area where you can look at how to calculate, how to quantify these scalable advantages. It's very critical for you to know where your own business stands. And it's exceedingly critical that in the moment of execution, where we have understood these elemental constructs of business systems, that we pay attention to marginal cost. Marginal cost is the reason why I have noted that e-commerce in Nigeria or most parts of Africa is not an electronic business, because the biggest cost element in the e-commerce operation, because of absence of postal service run nationally, is distribution costs. If the distribution cost goes up because you are serving more customer, it means that your business is not enjoying this kind of curve. And if it's not enjoying this type of curve, it means that business cannot be a digital platform. It means it cannot serve as a very nice company that can scale unbounded by geography. So what do we see in e-commerce companies? Because they have this difficulty of ramping up users without keeping the distribution and transaction costs low, they now will ban their operations within a geographical location. In other words, instead of serving the whole Nigeria, company like Konga, Jumia will say, we are going to serve only Lagos, Abuja, Port Harcourt, and some cities in Nigeria. When a digital company binds itself, restricts itself to within a geographical boundary, it means that company is no more serving as a digital company, because a digital company is supposed to serve at least a geographical boundary, because that is its own domain. If you cannot serve the whole nation, it means you are simply a bigger supermarket that is serving within a city. And no digital company has to restrict itself at that level. And why do they do that? Because they want to manage this distribution cost, which, as they serve more customers, they begin to see the shape of an industrial age company. That is the only way, and that's the reason why you may say you have 200 million customers in Nigeria potential, but unfortunately, what is available to you may be 20 million. because you cannot reach the whole country. Please go back to the member area for the 4 remaining videos. Thank you.